Value over quality. Value over quality. This is the topic for tonight as we stumble into content creation tips for YouTube and Twitch, and honestly, all sorts of content creation. So, what I mean by value over quality is the value that your fan base, viewership, your friends value over your content, over the quality over your content. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people tend to overthink the quality and the time and the tiny little mistakes that are inside of their content. And most of the time, it would have been just fine. Nobody would even notice the tiny little blemishes that were in your content. So we're going to talk about the content time to value to quality, kind of the mesh that goes together when creating content. Making your content full of quality is very important, but sometimes as a content creator, we tend to go over the top where we put too much time into small little details that really don't matter before we put out our content, when we could have been using that time and that effort into making more content. Now, I'm not saying that quality isn't important, and I'm not telling you to just like freaking just throw out content like it's nothing. But honestly, sometimes you need to look at your content and go, okay, that is good. That is, that's great. And then, if you think you really need to blemish out like tiny little milliseconds worth of content, sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes it's fine just the way it is, because a lot of times, especially newer in content creation, you want your stuff to be perfect. You want it to be spot on. Like, you don't want anything wrong with your content. No blemishes, no blurs. Oh my gosh, what is that in the background? I think I can edit that out. You don't need to put in all that work sometimes. Sometimes your content is good enough. And this also, you have to take this into consideration when you're looking at your fan base and your followers and what they value in your content, because sometimes that's not really important to your follower base, and you don't need to go over and above on certain features that your community really doesn't care about. The audience puts value on your quality of content. So sometimes the quality is right where it needs to be sometimes, and sometimes we go too far and above. And yes, that is the thing. I'm going to use this as an example. I had a friend who was creating content. I was also a content creator. And they sent me over a video and they said, I just want your opinion on this. I just want you to look at it. So, okay, I watched the video. It was great. It was good. It was solid content. It looked fresh. It had clean transitions. Everything was awesome. And then he says, oh, wait, I wanted to work on something real quick. I'm going to edit it a little bit more and then I'm going to send it back to you. I said, okay, fine. So he works on it for about 2 or 3 hours. He sends it back to me again to review it. I watch it. And honestly, I couldn't even figure out what he changed about the video. And I said, what were you working on this video for 2 or 3 hours for? And he said, oh, well, I just wanted to make the transitions sleeker and smoother with the audio crisp. And I was just like, I'm going to be honest with you. After watching it the first time and the second time, honestly, I didn't even notice that those tiny little details that you spent 2 or 3 hours on. It was perfect the way it was. Yeah, maybe it looks a little cleaner on the transition, but honestly, I didn't even notice the difference. And you just wasted 2 or 3 hours for something that I literally didn't even notice as a viewer of your content. And that's something you need to take into account of when you're creating content, because your time is valuable. You should be using that time to create more content instead of worrying over these little tiny blemishes. Now, if your audience does care so much about these little tiny blemishes, then that may be the audience that you're portraying to, and you may want to do that. But most of the time, people aren't paying attention to those tiniest little details that take the longest amount of time to edit out. Let's just be honest. So think about this: when you're creating content, you're creating the quality of your content to the value that your audience will perceive it as. Think about that when you're thinking about putting time into a project, because you could be putting that time and effort into something else that could be even bigger and better for your content than the little tiny details. And one last thing I want to touch on before I let you go is when I mentioned that your time is valuable, it is valuable. And I don't only mean that when you're working on your content, you can also use that time to just order a pizza and just chill out and watch a rom-com, the newest rom-com that you want to watch. Sometimes that value of your time could be used for some downtime too, because that is also really important, to give yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, just time to rest and recuperate so you can hit that next project hard. Big shout out to these wonderful and miraculous Patreon subs. It's because of them I get to be able to afford and enjoy pizza and catch up on my latest rom-com. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon sub, you like our content enough to support it, check out patreon.com/RebelDustyPinky, and you can have your name on the end of all of our YouTube videos. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.